From garbage dumps to tropical jungles, from caves to the sea floor, where only archaeologists do not have to work to please us with new finds. In this video, I will tell you why cave bears hid in caves, what we managed to find in a garbage dump, and what is the most ancient organ that has survived to this day. Hi friend, you are on the kirTop channel. Antique refrigerator. I will start the story about archaeological finds from Bulgaria, where in the camp of Roman legionnaires in Nova, archaeologists found a unique container made of ceramic plates, which was most likely used as a refrigerator. This camp was built in the 1st century AD. The territory of the ancient camp has been studied by Bulgarian and Polish archaeologists for decades. This year, under the guidance of Professor Peter Dychek, a refrigerator was discovered, which was located in military barracks. In it, the legionnaires kept the remnants of food. Similar refrigerators have been found before, but they are still considered rare. In addition to the refrigerator, archaeologists have found dozens of coins. But the next find, discovered at a garbage dump in Poland, will definitely surprise you. The largest treasure was taken to a dump. You can find anything in a garbage dump, from rare furniture and collectible prints to weapons and even money. But what exactly no one expected to see in a landfill is one of the largest treasure troves in Europe. In Poland, not far from Wrocław in the city of Środa, a precious treasure was discovered at a construction waste dump, which was nicknamed the Środzki treasure. It consisted of medieval coins and jewels of Czech monarchs from the 14th century. The treasure was discovered by workers in 1985 who were raking a pile of construction debris from destroyed houses. One of the workers saw gold coins spilling out of an earthenware vessel. He stopped the machinery and took the coins for himself. I note that earlier coins have already been found here, but these were isolated cases. While the local authorities found out about this treasure, some of the coins and precious jewelry were stolen by the locals. When archaeologists arrived at this place and took out everything that was left there, they estimated it at $100 to $120 million. Of the most valuable that was unearthed was the royal crown, which belonged to Blanca de Valois, the wife of King Charles IV of Bohemia. So by chance, ordinary workers were able to find one of the most expensive treasures in Europe. From gold coins, we will abruptly move on to drawings of ancient people with giant heads. A sword for the immortals. This is not just a weapon. This is a sword created at the turn of the eras, when China was split into dozens of warring kingdoms. But someone in the midst of this cruel reality made something else. Not for battles, not for victories, but as if for a ritual. The blade is bronze, but with a turquoise tint, as if the metal had absorbed the color of the sky. The handle is carved from rock crystal, transparent as ice. It is inlaid with gold details and turquoise inserts. Geometry, ornamentation, decoration. Everything is so thought out that it becomes clear. The sword was not created for a soldier's hand. It was created for something higher. The Warring States period is the 5th to 3rd centuries BC, a time of constant war, betrayals, and great reforms. But this sword is out of context. It speaks of a ritual. It could have been used in sacrifices, in rites of passage, or as a symbol of power that needed to be proven, not held. It is these artifacts that are confusing, because they do not fit our idea of the ancient world. We expect crude blades and battle scars. Instead, we get crystal, gold, and metal carved like jewelry. Box with code lock. This is a unique 12th century artifact created by Iranian craftsmen. This exquisite object not only served as a storage unit, but also demonstrated the outstanding engineering skills of its time. The box has 4 double dials, each with 16 positions. The combination of all possible settings creates an impressive number of options. 16 to the power of 8 or 4 billion S 294 million S 967,296. This made the box extremely secure since it is almost impossible to guess the code. The materials from which this item is made include brass, gold, and silver. The ornamentation and Arabic inscription covering the surface emphasize the sophistication of the work and testify to the high status of the owner. The box is now kept in the Copenhagen Museum, where it attracts visitors as an outstanding example of technology and decorative art of the medieval East. The date of its creation is determined to be around 1200. Burials in the cut-in forest. The discovery of mass graves in the Katyn forest near Smolensk, which in Russia still causes a lot of controversy. In 1943, German troops advancing on the Soviet Union discovered numerous graves of Polish officers. The Soviet Union denied any involvement, saying the Nazis were to blame. According to the official version of Western countries in 1940, on the orders of the top leadership of the USSR, thousands of Polish officers, police officers, scientists, and public figures captured during the Soviet invasion of Poland in September 1939 were executed. These massacres carried out by the NKVD became known as the Katyn Massacre. This discovery caused a wide international resonance, becoming an important argument in accusing the Stalinist regime of committing war crimes. For Poland, Katyn became a symbol of national tragedy and betrayal by the Soviet government, with which they had previously been considered allies. However, not everything is so simple. There is another opinion with supporting documents regarding this tragic event. In 1943, when the Nazis were defeated in the Battle of Stalingrad, the leadership of the Third Reich, and in particular the most powerful propaganda machine of that time in the person of Goebbels, had a desire to carry out an internal split. The Nazis themselves shot the Polish officers and allegedly discovered them themselves. This was done in order to point out Stalin's repressions and to antagonize the Allies among themselves. However, some Polish journalists did not believe the Nazis and conducted their own investigation. Some of the documents confirming the Nazi crime were prepared for the Nuremberg tribunal where the Nazis were tried. However, under strange circumstances, everyone who at least somehow tried to whitewash the Stalinist regime of that time began to die. Surprisingly, documents and everyone who was somehow involved in the investigation of this tragedy disappeared. Nevertheless, the Nuremberg International Military Tribunal indicted Hermann Göring, Nazi No. 2, and Alfred Jodl, the acting chief of the Wehrmacht High Command, for the Katyn crime. These are documented facts. It is difficult to believe that the Soviet army was involved in this execution because the Nazi allies also had a more terrible tragedy involving the Poles. This is the Volyn massacre, which many are now trying not to remember. Moreover, this event is maximally confirmed and documented throughout the world. Drawings of creepy people with huge heads. Now we will go to central Tanzania, where ancient artists in a cave left us strange drawings. In the Svaga Svaga Hunting Reserve, archaeologists have found a uniquely painted rock. There, the researchers found the remains of drawings, some of which disappeared without a trace. But one drawing has survived quite well, although it raises many questions. Drawings of humanoid figures with large heads were found in the Amaki 4 cave. According to archaeologists, this cave is several hundred years old, but it is difficult to determine exactly when these drawings appeared here. Researchers believe that these are the heads of buffaloes. In the Sandawe culture, buffaloes were an important part of the rituals, but there were no people with buffalo heads in their history. Although the horns of these characters exactly resemble those of a buffalo, not far from this place, archaeologists found two more similar drawings of creepy humanoid creatures with huge heads. All of them are very similar to each other. So far, archaeologists cannot give an exact answer who the artist tried to portray in antiquity, but scientists still have a small clue. In the Kandoa region, where the rock paintings were found, the Sandawe people live, who use various drawings for their rituals. Perhaps they will help archaeologists explain the origin of these drawings. From Tanzania, we will go to the Middle East to another cave, where the finds are no less impressive. Weapons older than 400,000 years. In Iran, archaeologists, together with their colleagues from France, discovered unique artifacts in the Kalicord cave, which are more than 400,000 years old. They also found traces of ancient people, whose age they determined using electron spin resonance, since it was not possible to date the traces by the classical radiocarbon method. A huge number of stone tools in this cave gave scientists the opportunity to restore the chronology of people's stay in this place. Archaeologists have suggested that the last inhabitant of this cave was a Neanderthal, and before him there lived Homo erectus and Heidelberg man. At the moment, this cave is considered the oldest settlement on our planet. How many more places like this we have to find, perhaps even older than this cave? But the next find, although much newer, is very unusual. Very rare and unusual item. In the southeast of Germany, archaeologists have found at first glance the usual burial of a woman. They dated it to 600 AD, but the object with which she was buried was very strange and rare. Scientists from the Bavarian State Office for the Protection of Monuments say that the woman had a high social status. This is understandable because a metal folding chair was found next to her. Right, only a folded frame measuring 70 by 45 centimeters has been preserved from the chair, and the age of the woman was estimated at 40 to 50 years. Most likely the chair, in addition to metal, was made of other materials such as wood and leather. For Germany, this discovery is the first, and in Europe it is already the 29th in a row. But only 6 of them had a metal frame. To discover such a find is considered a great gift in the world of archaeology. After all, it is very rare and its meaning is little understood. To better study the ancient world, you need to have more patterns and input data. And for this, archaeologists need to dig and study a lot. In our case, the burial with folding chairs had a symbolic meaning in the past. They buried people with such gifts that had a high social status, and this concerned more men. But that's not the problem. In most of the discovered burials were women. In addition to the chair, archaeologists found a pearl necklace with multicolored glass beads and a belt with brooches, and next to it lays the bone of an animal, perhaps a cow. What this present meant to the afterlife, archaeologists could no longer explain. Not far from the female burial, a male was also found. The man was buried with a full complement of weapons and artifacts that have yet to be studied. What was the most delicious cheese you have ever tasted? Write in the comment. And for now, I will tell you about the cheese, which is 2,600 years old. Odessa catacombs. Huge underground labyrinths are hidden underground in Odessa. The year of the first stay of people in it is considered to be 1813. This is the year written on the wall. During these years, there was a plague epidemic in the city. Perhaps the catacombs served as a shelter for local residents. During World War II, when the city was occupied from 1941 to 1944, these dark and labyrinthine dungeons became a secret hideout for partisan heroes. Imagine a network of underground paths more than 2,500 kilometers long where you can get lost, like in a huge anthill. It was here in the dark and cold that the partisans set up their secret bases. They lived in these dungeons, planned attacks on the enemy, and even printed leaflets calling on people to resist. The catacombs were an ideal place for secretive fighting. The enemy could not easily find or capture them. The partisans used their knowledge of underground labyrinths to shock the enemy, suddenly appearing where they were not expected and disappearing without a trace. It was dark, damp, and very difficult to live in these dungeons, but thanks to the courage and resourcefulness of the partisans, the catacombs became one of the symbols of the unbroken spirit of Odessa. In fact, the history of these labyrinths is so ancient that it has even acquired some legends, one of which says that in the depths of the catacombs lives a short man covered with wool. To survive, he eats bats. A dam from the wrong time. On the Vinalopó River near the Spanish city of Elche, there is a stone dam that was long considered to be a construction from the Islamic period. It seemed typical, a powerful structure at the mouth, massive walls, traces of canals, everything fit into the usual chronology. But a new study based on the method of optically stimulated luminescence has completely changed the picture. It turned out that this structure is 1,000 years older than the supposed date and was built at the end of the 1st century BC, during the era of the Roman Empire. The dam, over 130 meters long and about 4 meters high, turned out to be not just a part of the landscape, but an element of the entire hydraulic system of the Roman colony of Elche. It worked not only as a flow regulator, but was probably also used to irrigate the surrounding lands. This was not a separate structure, but part of a complex engineering network. Thoughtful, logical, practical. In this story, there are no cults, no inscriptions, no myths. Just calculation, geometry, and a clear understanding of the terrain. The dam was not built for beauty. It was not decorated with bas-reliefs and was not written into legends. It was built so that it would stand, so that it would let water flow where it was needed, so that it would serve the city. And it still works. More than 2,000 years have passed. Civilizations have changed, languages have disappeared, but the dam has remained in its place. The oldest map of the world has been deciphered. The British Museum has revealed the secret of one of the oldest maps of the world, a clay tablet from Babylon, created about 3,000 years ago. The so-called Imago Mundi, found in the city of Abu Haba, Sipar, in Iraq, has been kept in the museum's collection since 1882. The tablet depicts a simplified whole world as imagined by the inhabitants of Mesopotamia. The center is occupied by a rectangle of the Euphrates River. Around it are circles and rectangles denoting cities, including Babylon. Everything is surrounded by a bitter river, the salty waters of the Persian Gulf, and the Mediterranean Sea. According to cuneiform specialist Irving Finkel, this is a schematic reflection of the space where people lived and died, and beyond it, according to the tablet, there were 8 remote regions. The Akkadian text on the top and back of the map tells the story of the creation of the world and recounts one version of the story of the Great Flood. According to it, around 1800 BC, God commanded King Utnapishtim to build an ark, the remains of which were supposedly left behind a bitter river on a mountainside. A missing fragment of the tablet discovered in 1995 helped scientists decipher the story more accurately. In addition, the Babylonian god Marduk is mentioned, as well as fantastic creatures such as the Scorpion Man and the lion-headed bird Anzu, confirming the rich mythological world of the Babylonians. 2,600-year-old Halumi cheese. How can you show the finds of archaeologists and not talk about ancient Egypt? So, in the Saqqara necropolis, archaeologists discovered a fermented milk product that we are used to seeing on store shelves these days. 2,600-year-old Halumi cheese found in ancient earthenware vessels. Each vessel had Demotic inscriptions, which is a form of ancient Egyptian writing. Archaeologists have examined some of the vessels and confirmed that they contain halloumi. All vessels were taken to the laboratory where they will be studied in more detail. I understand that some cheeses become more expensive and tastier with age, but I would not try such an expensive cheese. In ancient Egypt, cheese was originally called haram, but today it has become known as halum or halloumi. There is another version of the origin of cheese. Some historians claim that it first appeared in the Byzantine period on the island of Cyprus. This cheese melts at a high temperature, so it is often grilled. And from Egypt, we will move to Southeast Asia, where the most ancient forest awaits us. Ancient forest with the tallest trees. Dipterocarps are the dominant group of trees in the rainforests of Kalimantan and have been present on the island for at least 4 million years. This is the 3rd largest island in the world, the only island divided between 3 states, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. Researchers sound the alarm. This forest is on the verge of extinction, and humanity can lose its history, which is 4 million years old. The researchers studied the remains of stone leaves and stated that the modern landscape of Kalimantan existed during the Pliocene era. The island is home to 270 species of dipterocarp, half of the total number of species on the planet. This tree species is one of the tallest tropical trees in the world. Some of them can reach a height of more than 100 meters. It is very difficult to find fossilized leaves in the tropical dense jungle. Previously, research was carried out on the basis of fossilized pollen, but the pollen decomposes quickly and the tests were not accurate. Now, archaeologists should hurry to collect as many of the fossilized remains of these ancient giants as possible before humanity destroys the mangroves in this region. Have you ever wondered why ancient bears lived in caves? Look further and I will try to answer this question. Why did the ancient bear love caves so much? Many documentaries and cartoons have been shot about bears. The bear was the symbol of the 1980 Olympics, is the emblem of many cities, and there are legends about its strength. In ancient times, a bear lived on our planet, which surpassed all those living today combined. This giant reached 3.5 meters in height, and they called it a caveman. It's just not clear exactly whether he actually lived in a cave or not. In territories from Ireland and England to western Siberia, a cave bear appeared about 300,000 years ago, which is a close relative of brown bears. It is not difficult to guess that he got his name for the reason that his remains were found in caves. But we cannot say that he was constantly there. Most likely, the bears climbed into the caves to spend the night. To feed such a giant, the bears had to eat cattle. However, it is not true. Bears are mostly vegetarian and feed mainly on berries, roots, insects, and plants. However, when the bears entered the steppe, it was difficult for them to survive on plants alone, so they ate everything that came across on the way. When their fat reserves were full, they looked for a suitable cave for themselves and fell into hibernation. But their danger awaited the giants. No matter how huge you are, when you sleep you are vulnerable. That's what cave lions used. Sometimes the bears managed to hide from the lions, but then they had another enemy. These are our ancestors. People specifically looked for sleeping bears in order to kill them. The skin was used for clothing, the meat for food, and the cave as a dwelling. But even this was not enough for the people. Based on the killing of Clubfoot, they came up with various magical rites, and bear skulls were used as artifacts of power. Approximately 15,000 years ago, the last cave bear was killed by a man, as evidenced by the latest finds of the remains of ancient giants. But the oldest fossilized heart that has been discovered is 380 million years old, and I will tell about it further. Stoned Room. High in the Andes, in the ancient complex of Chavan de Huantar, archaeologists stumbled upon a room they weren't supposed to find. It was completely closed, with no visible entrances, no windows, no doors, just a narrow opening, as if someone had deliberately hidden this space from prying eyes. Inside, there are 23 artifacts. All are related to the use of psychoactive substances. Some are thin, hollow bird bones, sharp, perfectly processed like pipes. Research has shown that they contain traces of tobacco and DMT, a substance found in ayahuasca. And here are the questions that arise. What was this small, dark room with inhalation pipes for? Why was it isolated? Why was it built in such a way that it would then be hidden forever? One of the authors of the study says, "This is not spontaneous shamanism. This is a ritual, strictly controlled, formalized, and perhaps it was not meant for everyone. Only the elite had access to these practices, perhaps the priests or the ruling castes, because hallucinations here are not just a journey inside oneself, they are a mechanism of power. A small room, 2 or 3 people, darkness, and a hallucinogen that changes the perception of reality. Such conditions could form contact with the gods, trance, visions, and if ordinary people believed that the priests really talked to spirits, then the priest could use this as a tool, both for control and for management." Melted steps. The stairs at the Temple of Hathor in Dendera raise many questions among archaeologists and researchers. These steps, located in one of the best-preserved temples of ancient Egypt, look as if they were exposed to incredibly high temperatures, which could have led to their deformation and partial melting. The surface of the steps shows unusual bends and recessed areas that are not typical for the normal wear of stone structures. There are various theories to explain this phenomenon. One hypothesis suggests that the steps could have been damaged as a result of some unknown thermal impact. For example, ritual fires or processes associated with ancient technologies. Another theory points to possible construction errors. If the stones for the steps were formed directly on site from a liquid solution, then the interruption of the hardening process could have led to an irregular shape and softness of the material. Scientists are still studying this phenomenon, adding another mystery to the rich heritage of ancient Egypt. Panther tank in the basement. In 2015, an event occurred in Germany that caused enormous public and media resonance. A World War II-era Panther tank was discovered in the basement garage of a private home, along with a number of other military artifacts associated with Nazi Germany. Recognized as one of the most powerful and efficient tanks of its time, the Panther is a rare exhibit and a subject of particular interest to historians and collectors. Along with the tank, an anti-tank gun, a torpedo, and numerous other military items were found in the garage, each a testament to the technological progress and war efforts of Nazi Germany. The discovery was made possible by an anonymous tip, followed by a search by police and military experts that led to this unusual discovery. Writing denunciations in Germany can be said to be part of German culture, but it is surprising how the owner of such a huge military arsenal managed to hide a tank in his basement for 70 years. The owner of the house, an elderly man, was a history enthusiast and is believed to have collected these items over the years. The question of the origin of the tank and other items, as well as how they were delivered to the basement, caused a lot of controversy among experts. Judicial authorities were faced with the task of determining whether the owner broke the law by owning such objects, especially given the strictness of German law regarding Nazi-era symbols and artifacts. For many, this incident was a reminder that even decades after the end of the war, its echoes are still reflected in our modern world, sometimes in the most unexpected and surprising forms, and how much more similar military equipment and weapons of those years are stored in basements and cellars throughout Germany. The most ancient heart. A new find of archaeologists came to us from Australia. Although earlier it could have sailed to us, we are talking about the oldest fossilized heart of a living being that has ever been found. This is the heart of a fish, and its age is 380 million years. Previously, scientists could study the anatomy of ancient organs only on the basis of the skeletal system, since the soft tissues of fossil animals practically do not survive to this day. This time the scientists were very lucky. The heart belongs to a group of armored fish, a type of arthrodire. These creatures lived on our planet between 420 and 360 million years ago. They were among the first vertebrates to develop a jaw. In addition to the heart, scientists managed to find the stomach, intestines, and liver of ancient fish. The most interesting thing is that all the organs lay in their original position, and for hundreds of millions of years they were not crushed by heavy rocks. Finding fish organs in their original form is an incredible miracle for the scientific world. This helps scientists see how evolution took place and what the anatomy of fish looked like about 400 million years ago, as if they were studying freshly caught fish. Based on the fossils they found, they made the first 3D model of an arthrodire heart. The researchers said that the anatomy of ancient fish was not much different from the human. And if you have, let's say, $25 million, then you can buy yourself a skeleton of a very ancient creature. Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton up for auction. If you are a big fan of archaeology and prehistoric creatures, love to explore the ancient world and tell your friends about it, and if you have at least $25 million, then at the auction in Hong Kong, you can get a 12-meter skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex named Shin. This skeleton was discovered in the United States in 2020 in Macon County in Montana. This creature is approximately 68 to 66 million years old, and the complete skeleton of the giant was collected over 2 years. The auction will take place this year on November 30th, and if you want to have time to buy it, then you should hurry. But most likely you will not have time because a potential buyer has already been found, a multimillionaire who plans to place the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex in his mansion. And let me remind you that its length is 12.2 meters, height is 4.6 meters, and this giant weighs almost 1.5 tons. Currently, the skeleton belongs to a private collector, but soon the skeleton will go to its new owner. Tyrannosaurus Rex is one of the deadliest dinosaurs on the planet. He had the strongest bite in history, while he had a fairly developed brain. This is the only complete skeleton of 80 million tyrannosaurs that has survived to this day, and the second skeleton, which is up for auction. Straight-toothed elephant tusk. 2 years ago in Germany, between Hanover and Leipzig, archaeologists discovered the bone of a straight-toothed elephant. It was a huge cervical vertebra. Later, archaeologists discovered other bones of this animal. Finding a complete skeleton of a 4-meter-high elephant is a rarity. After numerous studies, scientists have established that this elephant was eaten by ancient people. However, he died of natural causes. After all, he was about 50 years old and found him near an ancient lake where elephants went to drink. And already this year in September in Israel, biologist Lee Perry-Gal found a well-preserved tusk of a straight-toothed elephant. Its length is 2.6 meters and 20 centimeters in diameter. It has not yet been possible to completely get the tusk, so it is still impossible to accurately determine the type of elephant. But as you know, archaeologists like to rush and draw their conclusions ahead of time. According to them, it is a straight-tusked forest elephant, Paleoloxodon antiquus. It was often hunted by our ancestors, and in certain regions, elephants of this species were the main source of meat. Growth exceeded 4 meters, and weight reached up to 1.5 tons. As you already understood, the meat of such an elephant could feed a very large family. We no longer need to hunt elephants and cave bears, you can only watch it on your screens. And to learn about the release of a new video, you only need to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. Leave your kind comments under the video. It helps in promoting the channel. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone.